Welcome to Guns and Gear Network, everyone. I want to bring you this video this afternoon about medical and when it pertains to prepping, survival, everyday life, that sort of thing. So there's tons and tons of videos about medical when it comes to prepping and survival. So I'm not going to give too much of a show and tell and a long list of things I think you need to buy and so forth. What I want to give you today is a little bit of my mindset and my thinking, and it may apply to you. You may think, hey, that guy's wrong or whatever, and that's okay, but I want to give you my mindset on it. Again, if you followed my channel, you followed my videos, you'll know that I've always had the prepping mindset. And it's not that, and it really was, it's always been a lifestyle of mine. It's been a lifestyle of my family, because that's the way we lived when it came to, I had great-grandparents that grew up in the Depression. So they didn't throw away anything. They also didn't, they also made a lot of things. They'd make their own furniture. They would, can their own, raise their own gardens and stuff, and then can their own foods. So I just grew up with that. So it wasn't nothing for us to have some medical supplies put back and anything like that throughout when I was a kid. I just grew up in that environment. I grew up in the country, and it was a situation where, because of my great-grandparents and carried on to my grandparents and so forth, my grandmother, I used to see her wash aluminum foil and reuse it. I mean, that's just the type mentality that I grew up around. So I've always had that mindset, and medical's always been one of those things that I want to make sure that I had enough provided for my family if we had an emergency. So, and today, when things are good, you always, you're trying to put a Band-Aid on something temporarily to get to a hospital, 911 called, ambulance shows up, so forth. But when it comes to crap hits the fan, and those resources are very limited, things start changing rapidly. And unfortunately, there's going to be potentially a lot of deaths when that happens, because I don't care what you've bought, everything else, unless you've got an ER set up in the basement of your home or something crazy, they're not going to be able to patch up a gunshot wound. And I mean, if even so, I mean, you look at hospitals today, you know how many MRSA cases come up with infections and stuff? Could you imagine somebody trying to fix those things in a basement? As a matter of fact, if you go back and look at history, like the Civil War, a lot of times, those guys were being patched up, this, that, and the other. It wasn't the gunshot wound that killed them, it was the gangrene and the infection that killed them. So keep in mind, guys, I don't care what kind of equipment you have, it's going to be very tough to implement all those things. And I'm not saying not have it. The issue is, do you have a surgeon that is in your prepper group that, most people don't? Do you have even just a standard medical doctor that can diagnose and prescribe, a remedy for it, whether it be a homemade remedy and or a man-made remedy, such as a type of medicine? Probably not in most prepper groups. So you're going to be the nurse, the doctor, the dentist. You're going to be all that for your family, and that's tough. You're going to be able to kind of sort of fix things, but you're not going to be able to do a whole lot. So that's my point to this video, is to think about it. I've watched videos over the years, and I've seen some people that had crazy preps as far as quantity. I'm not saying they're crazy for doing it. I'm saying they had crazy quantities of things. And I go look at my household. If you're got a household that's been established for numerous years, family, maybe has some kids and stuff, I promise you've got a medicine cabinet full of stuff that's out of date. That, I've got stuff, when we actually moved recently, we boxed everything up and then finally got home to our new house and started sorting through everything and seeing what we wanted to keep, what we didn't. You wouldn't believe the medicines. I mean, we had just a box full of that stuff that's not even in my preps. This is our normal stuff that keeps in like a medicine cabinet or in the bathroom cabinet, stuff like that. Medicines that went out 5 years ago. Some of them went out 10 years ago. So prepping and storing all that stuff, cold medicines and all that, man, I hear you, but I wouldn't prep. I wouldn't go crazy with that stuff. And the reason is, unless you have the resources, i.e. the money, to be able to buy it, store it, and then rotate through it later on to replace it with, stuff that's not out of date. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to get into the argument or the debate about some medicines are good after their date. I realize that. However, stuff that's 10 years old, you may want to think about. So I would recommend, if you're going to do that type of serious, to that level of prepping and storing that type of medication, mounts, you need to have a plan to rotate through it, periodically, and check it and check dates and rotate things out, that sort of thing. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about. The other thing that I see some people have on hand, some people don't, that I think is important, besides the basic, Band-Aids, quick clot, tourniquets, all those important things, your antiseptics, even get into your medications, such as possible antibiotics or any of that type stuff. Tons of videos about the antibiotics, won't go into that. As far as using fish antibiotics, I always say keep some of those on hand. If you can't buy all the different antibiotics, try finding some broad spectrum antibiotics, and buy those and keep them back, because infection can kill you, and that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you can fix that. Flus can turn into pneumonia can turn into death, that sort of thing. So kind of keep an eye on that. Also, your knowledge, that's what it goes back to. You're not going to be able to possibly have a doctor in your group or anything like that, or a surgeon, dentist, or whatever, so you need the knowledge. Make sure you're getting that knowledge. Do I think you need to start studying up now? If you'd like, but you can always go, if you're a fairly intelligent person, you can get enough information at your fingertips that you can go in. I don't know how to work on everything on my car, but I could usually find a video, I can find a book, I can find something that can walk me through that procedure, and I can get it done. I didn't know how to do it 2 weeks prior to that, but the day I needed to do it and I wanted to do it, I was able to research it and figure it out. So start gathering that knowledge. Also, if you're not going to educate yourself at the present time, at least have that knowledge available to you and your group or your family to be able to research and say, look, these are the symptoms, this is what I think it is, this is what needs to be done. There's also a lot of home remedy books that you need to look at, and there's a couple good books, and I'm going to put some links below about a couple of them. One is Where There Is No Doctor, and one is Where There Is No Dentist, and it's basically talking about medical care, say, in third world countries. It's pretty good books. There's usually a free PDF floating around the internet. Your antibiotics, you need to know what each antibiotic's used for, because you don't take the same one, and I'm just talking off the cuff here. You may not take the same one for a tooth infection that you take for an ear infection, or a cut or something. So you got to pay attention to that, because you don't want to waste your antibiotics taking it for 10 days and it doesn't fix it. Well, that's because you were taking the wrong antibiotic. So and also you got to know your antibiotic allergies and stuff. Some people are allergic, so you got to be like penicillin and stuff like that. So gain that knowledge. Have a way to keep your stuff stored. Here's the thing. If you got all this medicine at your home and you need to pack up and leave and bug out, as they say, well, I like having everything kind of in a central location in a fairly good organized size bag. So you can have the sutures, you can have the forceps, you can have all these things, and they come in handy, don't get me wrong, but hemostats, whatever, surgical kits, scalpels, all that stuff. And you may have to figure out how to use those to a certain level, to your ability in certain situations. And effort with that stuff is better than no effort and just letting somebody die. I understand that. So I'm not saying not have it, because I've got some of that stuff here, and I'm going to show you a few items. Again, it's not a show and tell. This is just kind of my mentality and my thinking. I'm going to show you this one little tool here that I think is very handy. This is like a mechanic's mirror. They can be found in a lot of different places. The reason I think this is very handy in the medical, in your medical bag, it also is a tactical thing you can use. You can actually see around doors and stuff like that with this. But also, if you've got something on your body that's kind of hard to get to, let's say, you know, on the back of your leg or somewhere you're trying to look, this right here will help you look and see what's going on. Is it a tick? Is it a whatever back there? Then this right here can help you see things in tough spots on your body also. But it also can be used as a tactical mirror to look in, around, under things, behind things, stuff like that. So get you one of these, get you a couple of them. They're not that expensive. Dental supplies. I think that's where some people fall short. If you look, there's some basic dental tools in this bag here that I keep, and you can, you know, understand those. Let's talk dental for just a moment. I was on a forum the other day and they were talking about antibiotics, and somebody had mentioned about a toothache and a tooth infection. Here's the deal with that. If, let's say, for instance, crap hits the fan, you know, roads are closed, you can't get out and about, and you get something wrong with a tooth that becomes infected. Well, yes, you can take antibiotics, but if you don't fix it, it'll come back. So what I mean by that is you can go in, have your tooth, take the antibiotics, it'll fix it as far as not hurting anymore, the infection will go down, so forth. Week or 2 weeks later, maybe a month later, that infection is going to come back because you didn't correct the situation with a, you know, an extraction, a root canal, something like that. So keep that in mind. If you're going to use your antibiotics, you better figure out a way to fix it pretty quick after that, or it's going to come back. So, and you don't mess around with tooth infections because they can actually cause death, believe it or not. They're near your nasal cavities and your, which is real short distance to your brain, that sort of thing that can kill you. So that's the deal with that. Also look for bargains around. If you look back here in the back, I've got a set of crutches. I bought those at a consignment shop or one of those type little whatever knick-knack stores that people set up. He had like 100 of those things in 55-gallon barrels, and he was selling them for $3 a piece. I bought a couple pair. Nothing worse than having a twisted ankle, whatever, even a broke ankle or broke leg, your bum knee or something, and then all of a sudden crap hits the fan and you can't get nowhere, and you can't even walk around because you don't have a way to assist you like crutches. So some people buy all this other stuff and they don't think about those little things like having a nice set of crutches around. Those are aluminum. I paid $3 for them. I recently bought another blood pressure cuff up here. It's a manual one, not electric, and you obviously got to know how to take a blood pressure to buy one, so keep that in mind. But it doesn't use batteries. It's just a standard one like you see used in a hospital. I got it 50% off at one of the Walmarts that were closing. We were over there. They're closing down some Walmarts and all their inventory is 50% off. Was able to buy a few medical things and bought that. And I think we paid $6 for it. So that was a good bargain. Have a way to organize your gear. That's important. Keep in mind sunscreens, bug sprays, all that. I keep that with my medical supplies. Sunburn spray like solar cane. Those are things that can be very discomforting in crap hit the fan situations. And obviously you wouldn't need to go to the doctor for sunburn, but you can actually need to go to the doctor if the sunburn is severe enough, and you're going to be outside a lot more potentially with crap hits the fan, you know, whether it be hunting, fishing, foraging for food, doing security checkpoints, whatever the case may be, you may be out in the sun a lot more. A good set of EMT shears, I recommend. I've got a pair that's strapped to the side of this bag over here. I don't know if you can see it or not. A good set of those, so you can cut things off, cut bandages without accidentally cutting somebody, be able to cut clothes off during a gunshot wound. Tourniquets, anything to stop bleeding. There are some things out there, and I'll share them with you. There's a few things out there that's cheaper than Quick Clot. If you look up Quick Clot and look up the main ingredients in it, it is, and I don't want to, let me get something real quick, guys, and I'll tell you what it is. Alright, so the main ingredients in Quick Clot is this stuff called kaolin clay, Kaolin clay. And this is the main ingredients that is in QuikClot. And if you look, I've got a big bag here. You can buy this stuff off of eBay, and but that's it. It's pure kaolin clay powder. This was white, and that's what is in your main ingredients in QuikClot. This is when they changed the formulation, where it was burning people and all that. When they changed the formulation, this is what's in QuikClot. Am I advocating that you buy this and use it as QuikClot? No, I'm not. I'll let you decide that. But if you notice, I have a big bag of it. So here's the thing. You just got to research things on your own. I'm just giving you some helpful hints that I've picked up on. But that huge bag was not expensive at all. I think I may have paid $10 for that whole thing. And again, that's the main ingredients in QuikClot. That is the actual active ingredients in QuikClot. Is that right there? It's that kaolin powder. So anyway, wanted to discuss this briefly. Keep in mind, I don't mind people being able to store large quantities, but you know, one of the videos I saw, a lady had like 200 toothbrushes. My gosh, I mean, you wouldn't use 200 toothbrushes in 5 of my lifetimes. I don't care if you're switching them out, you know, once a month or whatever. To me, that money could have been well spent somewhere else. I would have rather spent more money on antibiotics than toothbrushes. You know, buy enough toothbrushes to get you by a couple years, maybe at the most. And even with that, you know, I've got toothbrushes that I've quit using, but I still use today because I keep all my toothbrushes. I'll scald them off real good, clean them, and then I use them to clean guns, scrub something, clean something, whatever. But I always keep toothbrushes. I got a whole box full of the used toothbrushes that I use. They work great for guns. Usually much better than the gun brushes you buy specifically from the gun industry, because most of those things break. That I've ever bought. So I've never bought a gun brush since I started just using my toothbrushes. So like I said, prioritize your spending when it comes to this stuff, and then once you have all your bulk items, get yourself a concentrated kit that you can grab and go, that's got some basic antibiotics, it's got some basic stuff that can get you and your family by for a few months. And that's the key. You know, hopefully if something societal breakdown would happen, you're looking at a couple to 6 months that you could just need to get by. But again, guys, go in your medicine cabinet and just look and see what you have that's been there since, you know, 1982, you know, whatever. I'm just using that as an example, obviously, but you know, I've got Band-Aids that don't even work anymore in my medicine cabinet because they're so old. You know, stuff like that. So keep that in mind when you start prepping and storing medical supplies. I want people to prioritize how they're doing it. I advocate definitely doing it. I just want you to think about your own personal life and how much medicines and stuff you've got that you don't even use and that's out of date. You know, again, you buy a box of 200 Band-Aids. I've got a box of, you know, I found in my medicine cabinet after we moved and started sorting through things. I couldn't tell you when it was bought, but the box had turned yellow and everything else. I mean, you just don't use that many Band-Aids in your lifetime. So unless you got a big prepper group or something, just be selective of how you spend your money towards medical. I definitely advocate spending money towards medical. Just prioritize it and make sure it makes sense for you and your family or your prepper group. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. If you've got any thoughts on the subject, be sure you post that. One other thing I did want to mention is things like braces, like the wrap style braces. Those things come in very handy. And a lot of times I don't see those in kits because I've got a bum knee. So, you know, the other week I was getting ready for work and my knee started hurting kind of weird. It just was, and I thought, well, this is going to bother me all day. So before I even left, I went ahead and grabbed one of my neoprene style knee wraps and put it on, wore it for a couple days. My knee's good as new. So again, think about those things that a lot of people don't think about. They go out and buy all this, you know, Band-Aids and sutures and everything else, and that's fine to buy all that, but think about the other things that can really get you by. You know, I hadn't had anything stitched up on my body in years, but yet my knee goes out occasionally, or I pulled a hamstring or something like that. Those braces and wraps and stuff can really get you through in a crap hits the fan situation where you're going to need to be more active. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions, post those below. If you've got any experience or thoughts on this subject, be sure to put those below. Be glad to hear about it and discuss them with you. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be bringing you another video shortly. Have a good day, guys.